Okay, I just want to do a few more examples with you, a few more things that you may see. So we're going to go ahead and start with this example right here. That's number 3. So again, we know that A here is equal to 3, B is equal to negative 12, and C is equal to 5. And since A is a positive 3, we know that it's going to open up. Okay, so to find our axis of symmetry, we're going to use the formula x equals negative b over 2a, and we're going to plug in our numbers. So negative b is negative 12, and then 2 times a, which is 3. All right, and remember, this is a negative 12 times a negative 1, so it's actually a positive 12. That's what I warned you about before. Over 2 times 3, which is 6, and 12 divided by 6 simplifies to 2. So my axis of symmetry is going to be at x equals 2. Okay, now that I know that it's going to be at x equals 2, I know that 2 is my x value for my vertex. So to find the y value, I plug x into the equation. So y is equal to 3 times 2 squared minus 12 times 2 plus 5. So again, all I did was every time I see an x in this equation, I plugged in 2. Okay, so y is equal to 2 squared is 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is negative 24 plus 5. And if I simplify all of that, I'm going to end up with a negative 7. So y is equal to negative 7. That means that my vertex, my point here, and since it opens up, it's going to be my lowest point, is at 2, negative 7. Okay, so if I sketch that, all right, on a graph, I know that I'm going to be an axis of symmetry here. Okay, it's an invisible line. It's not normally there. I'm just showing it there so you'll see it. Negative 7 will be somewhere around here. So 2, negative 7 is my vertex. That's the lowest point on this graph. And it's going to open up. Okay. If you're unsure about how this graph is going to look, put it into your calculator or type it into Desmos and check it out and make sure that you got what it looks like. Okay. All right, so that is our graph for this example. So we're going to do a couple more examples. Let's look at number 6. So here at number 6, we have negative 3x squared minus 24x minus 42. So our a value is negative 3, our b is negative 24, and our c is negative 42. So in this case, a is a negative number, so it is going to open down this time, okay, like a frown. All right, so axis of symmetry, first thing we're going to look for. We're going to do x is equal to negative b divided by 2a, okay? And we're going to plug in those values. So negative b, so negative, b is negative 24 divided by 2 times a is negative 3. So negative 24 times a negative 1 is a positive 24, and negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6, which is going to reduce to a negative 4. So x is equal to negative 4 here. That's our axis of symmetry. Now, with vertex, we're going to take that. We know that the x value has to be on the axis of symmetry, so it's going to be negative 4. Now we need to find our y value here. So we're going to plug it in. So y is equal to negative 3 times negative 4 squared minus 24 times negative 4 minus 42. And again, all I did was plug in those numbers. So once I plug all of that in, negative 4 times negative 4 is 16, times negative 3 is negative 48. Negative 24 times negative 4 is a positive 96, minus 42. I simplify all of that, and I get y is equal to 6. So our vertex here is going to be at 6. Okay? So I know it's kind of hard to see the graph when I'm drawing it out like this. So I'm just going to say, hey, we've got an axis of symmetry here, okay? Our axis of symmetry would be at negative 4 on the graph, just like I did before, but I'm going to try to avoid putting that xy coordinate on there just so that it makes it a little easier to see. I know that it's going to open down, so there will be a point here that is negative 4, 6, and it's going to open down from there, okay? So that's what it's going to look like when it's graphed. Okay, but of course it's going to be, this point will be at negative 4, 6 on the graph. Okay, so it's actually going to start out in the second quadrant. That's the top left, and come down from there. Okay? All right, so let's look at a couple more examples. We're almost there. This one here is negative x squared plus 4x. So our a value is a negative 1. Our b value is a 4. And there is no c value, which means it is 0. All right. A is a negative number, so it will open down. All right. And now we're going to find the axis of symmetry. So x is equal to negative b divided by 2a. So x is negative, b is 4, 2, and a is negative 1. So we end up with negative 4 over negative 2, which is a positive 2. So x is equal to 2. That's our axis of symmetry here. All right, since that is our axis of symmetry, that is our x value for the vertex, and we just need to find the y value. So y is equal to negative 2 squared plus 4 times 2. So this is another time that you have to make sure that you're putting your numbers when you're substituting them in parentheses. Because if you don't, negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. But that is not what this is. This is not negative 2 squared. It's 2 squared with a negative in front of it. So it's actually going to be 2 times 2, which is 4, with that negative in front of it. So it's going to be negative 4 here plus 8. And when you simplify that, you get that y is 4. So your vertex here is going to be at 2, 4. And remember that your graph is going to be opening down. Okay, so we have a axis of symmetry here that is x equals 2. You're going to have a point at 2, 4. That's your vertex. And it's going to open down. So your vertex here is going to be in the first quadrant. That's top right. And it's going to open down just like this. Okay? All right, last example. And then you're going to have a few that you can work on your own. Okay? So a here, we have negative 2x squared plus 8. Negative a is negative 2. B is 0. Notice there is no middle term. The middle term is the one that has a variable with it with no exponents. And then c is your constant value of 8. Okay, so be very careful about what your terms are here. All right, since your a value is a negative 2, it is going to open down. All right, so let's do our axis of symmetry. X is equal to negative b over 2a. So we have a negative, b is 0, and then 2 times a is negative 2. Okay, so negative 0 is really just 0, and 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And if you plug in 0 divided by negative 4 to your calculator, remember you have to be very careful with zeros because dividing by 0 is not okay, but 0 divided by 4 is still 0. Okay, so that means that your axis of symmetry is going to be your y-axis. So x is equal to 0. That is the y-axis, the one that runs up and down on your xy coordinate. Okay, so that means x is going to be at 0. We need to still find out what y is going to be. So we're going to take that y equals negative 2x squared plus 8. We're going to plug in that 0. So negative 2 times 0 squared plus 8. Okay, and we're going to work that out. Okay, so 0 times 0 is 0, and 0 times negative 2 is 0. Okay, so we end up with 0 here plus that 8. So y is equal to 8. All right. So here we end up with our vertex at 0, 8. So axis of symmetry is actually your y-axis. So x is equal to 0. That's this line right here. All right, and then we have your vertex at 0, 8. And again, it opens down. So we're going to go down just like that. All right. And remember this point right here is 0, 8. Okay.